In this video, I'm going to share 3 reasons why I use Linux and why I think you should as well. Hi, my name is Enoch Maseru, and I'm a business analyst at Odoo and a system admin. I've been working with Linux operating systems for about 20 years now. Right off the bat, I'm just going to share the reasons why I use Linux, specifically Ubuntu, and why I think you should as well. One, I use Linux because of the philosophy of open source software. Secondly, I use Linux because I think it has a lot of opportunities, depending on your role, whether it's a business role, a technical role. I think Linux, or the knowledge of using Linux, offers lots of opportunities around that. And then thirdly, because of the kind of, I'd probably say, cost hardware. In this way, if you're looking for software solutions that are affordable, Linux is a good way to go about it. But I think more importantly than just the cost and affordability, I think is the whole aspect of the fact that if you have older hardware, Linux gives you the opportunities to be able to get more life out of older hardware than other operating systems, say Windows or Mac OS. Definitely Mac OS can only work on their specific hardware, Apple hardware, so that's limiting. Windows also, Windows 11, Windows 10 increasingly requires more and more system resources. So if you have an older desktop and older laptop, Linux gives you the opportunity to be able to get a lot more life out of those hardware. So those are the reasons why. If you're following along in this series, you will be aware of, some of the videos that I've shared, how to get started with Linux. And so, you can be able to check that one out. If you're interested, I'm going to share a lot more details on this particular, just from my own experience. A bit more information about why I use it and really why I think you should as well, even now in 2025. A bit of context, today is the 8th, actually we've just crossed into the 18th of September, and Odoo, where I work, we're launching the next version. So our OXP, Odoo Experience, is our annual event. Is happening today, tomorrow, and Saturday, and the next version of Odoo is being launched. And so that's something that I would also just encourage you. It's just one of those things that's very interesting for you to be able to know, and it ties into the second reason why I feel you should use Linux, because it offers you a platform to be able to take advantage of some of the opportunities that I'll be sharing around Linux, around open source software. So first, let's break down those 3 reasons that I've highlighted. One, I use Linux because of the philosophy around open source software. Now, just to be able to better explain what I mean, I'm going to share a couple of clips in terms of videos that you can jump into to be able to just understand what I mean by open source. If you're totally new to open source software, you don't know what open source software is, or maybe you've heard of open source and you just know, okay, open source, it's, software that's free or something. I want to be able to share some resources and some guidance to really help you get a handle on why open source software is important. And hopefully to debunk some myths around open source software. So one of the first videos I'd probably want to direct you to is just the story around Linux as an operating system. We won't watch all the videos, but this should be enough for you to be able to just jump into it and get to understand it a little bit more. So I'll just play a little clip of this, and then I'll explain a few things, and then we'll proceed.
In the final years of the 20th century, amid the dot-com frenzy and millennial hype, a quiet revolution was underway. A new operating system, born as a hobby in a Helsinki bedroom, was exploding onto the world stage. Its name was Linux. Seemingly overnight, this renegade software leapt from an idea shared by one student to a global phenomenon, infiltrating corporate strongholds and attracting millions of devoted users on every continent. By the dawn of the 21st century, Linux powered web servers across the internet and even orbiting NASA machines. It wasn't just an underdog technology, it was the vanguard of a new way of creating software, a collaborative, open model that challenged how technology itself would be built. Today, the impact is everywhere. The Android phone in your pocket runs a kernel that traces directly back to Linux. Nearly all of the world's top supercomputers and a majority of servers rely on it. To understand how Linux began, we must go back to the early 1980s, when...
Okay, yeah, so you can be able to jump into this video just to be able to understand it a little bit more. But basically, I like the philosophy around open source software because it's really values that I also share. I believe that software should be shared. I believe that knowledge should be shared. And like our CEO, Fabian Pincus, usually says, software really is knowledge. And so the whole idea with open source software is that it gives you the freedom to be able to use, improve, and share the software, as you will. In contrast to proprietary software, that's closed software. Sometimes proprietary software is called closed software, which simply means that you don't have access to the source code. But open source software has the philosophy where we believe that software should be shared, knowledge should be shared, people should be able to know what runs the software, be able to check under the hood and improve it, and that's a philosophy that I really believe in. Being able to share knowledge freely, to be able to improve and whatnot. And the thing I like about this video also is that it gives an overview of open source software, where some people usually think that open source software is software that isn't tried and tested, it isn't refined, it isn't powerful enough, but really over about 60% of the servers around the world are run by Linux operating systems, and that's open source. And the phone that you use, the Android operating system, is built off of Linux. Even Mac OS is a Unix kind of software. And so this is a great video just to be able to understand about open source software and the philosophy around open source. And speaking about Unix and Linux, a great video to be able to help you explain what that is, I think, is this one here by Gary Sims, where he explains, Unix versus Linux. Okay, so maybe you've heard of Unix, you've heard of Linux, you don't really know the difference. I think I found this to be a good video to be able to help you explain the difference between that. I'll play a short clip just to be able to also help you just get a grasp of that, and then that would be good. So let me go to here. Let's start, and then I'll move to the 6th minute.
Is Gary Explains. Now, you've probably heard of the word Linux. It's an operating system. In fact, it's the kernel that's used at the heart of the Android operating system. It also runs on a wide range of devices, including desktops and laptops. It's at the heart of Chrome OS. You can get it on servers. It even runs on the Raspberry Pi. Now, you may have also heard of Unix. And of course, they sound similar, Linux, and Unix. And you may be wondering, are they the same thing? Are they compatible? Are they completely different? So if you want to know what is the difference between Unix and Linux, please let me explain.
Okay, so he goes on to explain the difference between Unix and Linux. I want to take it to here. Yeah.
Particular functions. So you've got the POSIX specification, which really defines what Unix does from a programming point of view. Now, while all this was going on, there are several other things that were happening in parallel that we need to know about. One is the start of the GNU Foundation, GNU standing for GNU's not Unix, which of course is recursive, because then to go back into GNU, you say GNU's not Unix, GNU's not Unix. And that was started by Richard Stallman, and he is responsible for the ideas of free software, not free as in no cost, but free as in freedom that we have today. And also he was responsible for making sure there was the GNU secret compiler, the GNU C runtime library, and lots and lots of other tools that were used to be able to build a free version of Unix without relying on the BSD files or relying on the AT&T files. And also it's worth...
Okay, so again, goes on to explain a lot more about it. I think I'll just want to probably move it to this towards the end of the video.
I wanted to make a quick video to show you how to use.
Just move it to the end, and you can catch up on this if you want. But let's move it till here. Okay.
A commercial product. Its source code was licensed in the early days, which means eventually we had some of the source code out in the public, and that was used for operating systems like FreeBSD and to some extent operating systems like Mac OS, which we have today. Linux was written using Minix as a way of writing a Unix clone or a Unix-like operating system, and today it doesn't share any files with the original versions of Unix from back in the 70s and 80s. And ultimately, free software has won the day here because, of course, Linux is so popular, not only on servers, but also on smartphones. So my name is Gary Sims, and this...
Okay, yeah, so there you have it. Unix was an operating system or a software that had been created, and Linux is a Unix-like operating system, so doesn't share the source code as of now, but it's based off of Unix. And so you do have some underpinnings, between Linux and Mac OS, because they are both Unix-like operating systems. So these videos just help you to understand a little bit about Linux, and so if you've followed my previous videos about how to install it, I just thought this would be some useful videos to be able to understand what Linux is, and just get a handle on that. Something else that people usually have some misunderstandings about Linux is they feel that open source software Linux is not secure, as opposed to proprietary software. And I found this video to be really good because it gives you an understanding of really the difference between open source software and closed software, open source and proprietary software, at least as far as security is concerned. And I like the explanation provided here because it really helps you to understand the difference between the two and why one would use open source software, why one would use Linux over proprietary software. So have a listen to this clip here.
Less secure.
I mean, let's be clear. All software has bugs.
Is open source really less secure?
I mean, let's be clear. All software has bugs, open source and closed source. Somewhere in those code bases, there's going to be some kind of defect or vulnerability. The question is who finds them and when? With closed source software, it can be said it's more difficult to find any vulnerabilities there because, of course, that software has been compiled. Somebody has to reverse engineer it to find any vulnerability. Clearly, as we see from proprietary technology or proprietary software, that happens. There are people who are motivated to go and do those things. What's interesting is more who can fix those vulnerabilities and how quickly can they do that. The greatest difference between open source and closed source is the time that it will take to have those vulnerabilities fixed. With closed source, it's going to be reliant on the vendor that created the software initially. Nobody else can go and fix that software. With open source, the unique thing about it is that anybody can propose a fix. It could be another vendor that provides support. It could be some community member, but anybody can provide a solution to any of those vulnerabilities that get identified.
Is open source...
Okay, so some important points that come out here in terms of the security with open source and closed source software is, one, you really have the difference clearly being shown here. With open source software, the source code, anyone can be able to jump into the source code. You have visibility over the code. You can be able to jump in if there's a bug. Anyone can be able to fix it, because, like we mentioned, there's the freedom to be able to see the code, share it, improve it. So really, the difference you have is that with open source software, if there's a bug, if there's a security vulnerability, one, the fact that the source code is open, it means that you have less chances of somebody hiding some malware, some virus or something, and nobody won't notice it because the source code is open. Anyone can be able to see what's there. But more importantly, with open source software, then it means that anyone can be able to jump in and fix it, as opposed to proprietary software where it's the vendor, the original vendor, that would have to actually go in and fix it. And so really the myth about open source software being less secure than proprietary software really is a myth. In fact, one would argue that with open source software, it is actually more secure because it's open. There's less chances of somebody hiding anything and people won't be able to notice, but then people can be able to jump in. And because of the collaborative nature of open source software, then it means that there's a higher chance that somebody would be able to fix it and quickly. And that leads us to something that we will also tackle when we are looking at different types of open source software, especially business systems, ERP solutions. You have an issue where he sort of mentioned it concerning vendor lock-in. With proprietary software, you are tied to a particular vendor, to the original vendor who created the software. And so really vendor lock-in is a very real phenomenon in the ERP software world, and that's something that as a business, as a user of the software, you need to be aware of. That with proprietary software, you do risk getting into a situation where you are locked in to a particular vendor. But with open source software, you do have a wide opportunity to be able to get support from different people. So that's one of the key reasons why I use Linux. I like open source software. I share the philosophy around the collaborative nature of open source software. So that's an important thing. I think something else that I also wanted to share around the philosophy. So remember, we are looking at the 3 reasons why I use Linux and why I think you should as well. There's also this whole phenomenon that has come up to do with the right to repair, so repairability. I've seen it around mobile phones, especially where there's this push, from guys like iFixit and whatnot, to be able to push for smartphones that are repairable, to be able to have the right to repair your gadgets that you buy, and so this is something that's also very closely related to software, because you see, one of the things that we have here is that it's a movement and a proposed legislation that aims to give consumers and independent repair shops access to the parts, tools, information, and software needed to fix products that they own. And so this is really pushed back against proprietary software knowledge and whatnot, and really pushing for that kind of philosophy that underpins open source software of, that knowledge should be shared. You should have the right to repair your gadget once you buy it. You shouldn't be forced, once you've bought, expensive smartphone or any other electronic device, that if there's a problem with it, you actually have to go and just get rid of the whole device. You should be able to repair it. You should be able to extend the life, of these gadgets and whatnot. And so this really is also something related to the philosophy around open source software. This is just another video that goes into the, really explaining what Linux is. Is it an operating system? Is it a kernel? Is it both? Again, a good video to be able to jump into. But like I mentioned, I use open source, specifically Ubuntu. I've been using Ubuntu for a while, actually for about close to 20 years, because I remember, if I look at the releases of Ubuntu, I remember using Ubuntu version 7.04 feisty phone. I don't really remember using these others. Ubuntu 4.10, that was in 2004. No, I hadn't started using it. I remember I was in university, JQuat. That's where I first, got to learn about Linux, Ubuntu specifically. We had lots of schoolmates who are playing around with different Linux operating system, Ubuntu, OpenSUSE, tried Fedora as well, and a few others. So I do remember using definitely Feisty Phone, and I've been using a number of these, releases ever since. And so, yeah, I've been using Ubuntu for a long time. Ubuntu really was a Linux operating system that came in to make open source a lot more friendly, human friendly. Linux was or is perceived even now, as a very difficult technical kind of thing. But the philosophy really that Ubuntu came with is to be able to make Linux accessible to the ordinary person who probably isn't a developer, and wants to be able to use it. So that was really great. Especially the LTS versions, I've used those ones a lot. And so that's really the reason why I use Ubuntu. Ubuntu also has come to almost be the standard around servers. A lot of people use it. Of course, others are used as well, Debian and whatnot. But Ubuntu has become very, very popular in the last few years. And so what that means is, and I shared this in some of the previous videos that I had shared concerning getting started with Linux, is that if you're starting out with Linux, Ubuntu is a great choice because there's a lot of resources online about how to be able to install a particular software or fix a particular issue that you might run into. So definitely I would recommend Ubuntu for anyone that's starting out, especially if you're not very technically inclined, but you do want to use it. Whether for business or whether you're starting out, maybe as a software developer and you want to be able to understand the terminal and whatnot, that would be a great choice. So that's the first reason, the philosophy really around open source. And secondly, I like Linux because of the opportunities that it offers you. Using Linux helps you to understand software in a way that using Windows probably may not. Because it helps you to think, it helps you to grow, it helps to challenge you. And especially if you're going to be working as a system admin, or if you're as a cloud practitioner or a software developer, or just working with business systems, Linux helps you to learn, to grow, to be able to challenge yourself. And so I've been able to gain a lot of knowledge and experience, using Linux. You might find yourself in a situation where you need to deploy certain software, maybe a software like Ubuntu. You want to install it on a VPS on premise. A good understanding of operating systems would put you in a very good place to be able to set up the servers, manage them, maintain them, and then install the necessary software. So it gives you great opportunities on that score, depending on the kind of careers or business you would be running. And also, as we get more into Odoo and getting to understand the kind of offerings that Odoo has, then that understanding becomes really great. You might find yourself in a situation where you want to even try it out for yourself. You can install Odoo's community version. Again, it's freely available for you to be able to just install and use. Odoo is also Odoo is open source, but the business model that Odoo has is open core. So Odoo has, maybe let me explain it a little bit more, and I think this goes to the heart of the opportunities around using Linux. So Odoo Enterprise versus Community. So at the core of it, Odoo is open source. So it has two versions. And so you can see here the community version open source and the enterprise version is licensed. Essentially what it means is that Odoo at the core is open source, just like Ubuntu, just like any of the other Linux operating systems. It means that the source code is available. You can actually be able to get a hold of the source code. You can see You can see it, you can work with it, you can improve it, you can share it freely. Okay, so all you need to do is actually just to download it, and if you know how to, you can install it and use it. And I'll be going into some of those in my subsequent videos. But really here I wanted you to just be able to understand what Odoo is, at least at that particular level. So the community version is about 75-80% of what Odoo has. The enterprise version is really the open source version, but some additional benefits or features around it. Some of them has to do with some functionalities, like some applications, maybe like accounting. Okay, so if you want the enterprise version of Odoo, then that one is something that's available on the enterprise version. Okay, let me explain that a little bit better. So you have about 70 to 80% of Odoo being free and open source. But what we have done is that we've taken Odoo and we've adopted what we call an open core model. Now, open source, like our CEO Fabian Pinker says, is open source is a good collaborative model, but not a very good business model. And if you go and check out Odoo's story, then that would help you to be able to understand it. In fact, I would point you to our blog, Odoo blog. Let's say Odoo story. Yes, good. So this would give you a very good understanding of the difference between open source and open core. So open source is a good development, software development model, collaborative model. It helps you to be able to improve the software quickly, because then you can be able to get feedback and input from the community to be able to improve the software, catch bugs and that kind of thing. But over the course of the, from when Odoo as a company was formed, what we came to realize is that open source isn't a very good, or at least not a very sustainable business model, because you have to be able to survive, you have to be able to pay your software developers and that kind of thing. And so then what we did as Odoo is that we moved to what we call an open core model. So the core of our software, 70% or 80%, is open source. Sales application, invoicing and whatnot is open source. Okay, so in this particular page, we were looking at all these applications here: invoicing, payments, the expenses application, CRM sales, point of sale, totally free, the website builder, e-commerce solution. All this is absolutely free. But then what we did was that we had some features that we provided some additional applications, some additional features, including hosting. Just not being able to worry about setting up your server, your VPS, installing it, maintaining it, ensuring that the uptimes on the server are maintained, but really just going on the web using your browser and you start and you're good to go. So we bundled that 20% to then be premium features that we offer to our clients, so extra sort of premium applications or features that we provide. And that really is the difference between, in Odoo, when we're saying that there are two versions, the open source Odoo community version and then the Odoo enterprise version. So essentially what that means is this, practically. If you have a server, you have a laptop, and you have installed Linux, okay, or even Windows, because you can install Odoo on Windows or Linux, there's no problem. It means that you can actually download Odoo, you can install it on your laptop, your desktop, your server, whether it's online or on premise, and be able to run it and use all these functionalities without a problem. Invoicing, sales, CRM, website, you can be able to use them. You do, of course, have to sort out those technical preliminary requirements. Okay, have a server. It could be online or on premise, and then have the know-how to be able to install it. But we have a large community and a lot of people who use Odoo Community, whether for their own personal use or as the basis to be able to build more, to build other applications or provide solutions to businesses. That is very possible. The enterprise version is basically the hassle-free version of Odoo. Hassle-free in the sense of you don't have to worry about a server, purchasing a server online or having one on premise. You don't have to worry about all the installation, technical, maintenance, security, ensuring uptimes that go with basically the whole ICT, system admin requirements that go with having a server and maintaining it. You don't have to worry about that. You don't even have to download it. You don't have to know how to install it. All you simply need to have is access to a browser and an internet connection, and you can get started with Odoo Enterprise. And for that, we charge a small price. If you check our pricing here, you can see that the pricing for Odoo is very, very affordable. So what that means, and now this ties into the opportunities that are available. If you get into Linux and you get to understand how Linux works, it opens up a lot of opportunities for you depending on what you need. So here I'm talking about if you're looking for a business, if you're looking for to be able to build a business or to provide solutions to other businesses, a very good understanding of Linux, how it works, then gives you the opportunity, if you want to venture into that particular industry, if you want to venture into that business of providing business solutions to businesses and companies, then Linux offers you a lot of that opportunity. And that's really what I have done for close to 10 years. Once I left university, I don't regret the choices I made to just begin to learn about Linux. I really was just doing it as a hobby. A lot of my friends were doing the same as well. But little did I know that that would actually provide me with a good basis to get into the career as I did, as an ICT manager, as an ERP implementer, as a project manager. That really helped me in my career as I did that. And so I think that could offer lots of opportunities to somebody who's considering doing the same thing. Linux would offer you opportunities around that space. And so that's the second reason why I would encourage anyone to be able to get into and to get started using Linux. Finally, like I mentioned, other than the fact that using Linux is free, just need to download the operating system and use it. You can be able to give a second life to older hardware. So, especially if you're in this part of Africa, Kenya, there are some places around, outside of the city, where there could be businesses that are using older hardware, older desktops and older laptops. And a lot of times, because of, especially in the city, and for those ones who are, tech savvy, there's this push for, the newer, cutting edge hardware specs and whatnot. And that's fine for a lot of businesses and companies that, the budget isn't a problem. But for many organizations, NGOs, small community groups, people in less affluent areas, for a long time, you could find yourself stuck with, laptops that way older, not even Core i3, you're talking about Intel Pentiums laptops, Intel Celeron, laptops. So these are chips that may not be able to fully handle, the latest softwares that are coming out that require, Core i5, Core i7 processors, require RAMs of up to 4, 8, 16 gigs. And so you could end up with a situation where you would have people in rural areas, people in less affluent areas who might not be able to really make use of a computer simply because they can't be able to run an operating system on that kind of old hardware. Linux offers you the opportunity to be able to make use of these kinds of older hardware, installing Ubuntu, installing Linux Mint on a lot of this older hardware, and even much lighter operating systems than that, not just Linux and whatnot. This would allow you to be able to use this hardware. So that's the other reason why I use Linux and why I would encourage anyone to use Linux as well. And so with that, again, I'll be sharing more videos about Odoo moving forward. The whole reason why I started, this, videos was to be able to give people the knowledge and the know-how they need to be able to make use of the technology and the software solutions that are available in the market, leveraging on the up to 20, years that I've been using Linux, more than 10 years using Odoo as an operating system. I'll be sharing a lot of the opportunities, a lot of the tips and tricks that I've gathered along the way that might be helpful to anyone who's looking to also be able to make use of that. And so stay tuned for subsequent videos. I'll be sharing more videos this week, hopefully around Odoo 19 that's coming out and the opportunities around that. And so if you're interested in using Odoo in your own business, if you're interested in using Odoo for your company where you work, maybe you're considering it. If you're interested in providing Odoo as a solution, selling Odoo, I'll be sharing some of the opportunities that are available there for partnerships when it comes to implementing Odoo as well. And a lot of this could actually be very financially viable, opportunities that if you take the time to learn and to understand how a lot of this software works, you'll find that the barrier to entry for a lot of these softwares, it's very, very low. And so with the determination and with just a little bit of time to be able to learn how it works, you could very well, be able to exploit some of these opportunities and be able to make a career out of them, grow your entrepreneurial journey around it and whatnot. And so I'm really looking forward to doing that. So catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.